All right, folks, listen up. This story is going to be mind blowing. Thank you, Amber, for sharing with our audience here. Amber is just a little bit of background. She is a retired nurse. She was nursing for 20 years, and now she is a health coach due to the results that she's had with the gut brain access protocol. She was really struggling with incredible inflammation, low thyroid, which can really screw with you. I'm going to let Amber take over and just tell your story. Like, you were skeptical at first, like gut brain access, what the heck is that? I'm in the healthcare field. I should know how to fix myself or how to make myself feel better.
Okay, well, thank you so much, of course, for having me here today. I love doing these interviews and just getting in front of, different people's networks because I love what we're doing here with the mental wellness company. It's so fulfilling. And coming out of the hospital system after 20 years in that system, this has just honestly changed my entire life. It's changed my physical health, it's changed my mental health. And it's also completely changed the trajectory of where I'm headed in the future. So I am just honestly like, I get speechless. I get chills when I talk about this because it truly has completely single-handedly changed my entire existence on this planet.
And so many levels, it's kind of started for you with the physical. Talk about that and then how it kind of morphed into mental symptoms.
As a nurse, we are so cognizant of other people. We're putting other people before ourselves all the time and making sure everybody else is taken care of, often to the detriment of our own selves. I started nursing at a very young age. I was 20 years old when I started nursing and just got going really, really young. Felt pretty good in the beginning. Probably about 5 years into my career that I can have my first sort of memory of starting to feel not great. Probably about 25 years old and just started feeling these vague generalized symptoms, like nothing really specific, but just sort of this overarching feeling of overwhelm, exhaustion, like burnout type symptoms, adrenal fatigue type symptoms. Like I was just, again, I was a nurse and I was young and I was in this career with a lot of responsibility. And it weighed heavily on me. And I just, again, became very overwhelmed, very burnt out very quickly. Because if you've been in the healthcare system at all or had any experience, we don't get a lot of support. We don't have a lot of resources and we're always asked to do more with less. And so it becomes very, very stressful. And so after a couple of years of dealing with this stress, it started to take a toll physically. And so what I started to notice was that physical symptoms started to pop up more and more. I started to have breakouts all over the place. I started to gain weight that I couldn't get rid of. Started to have, like, my hair was thinning and falling out. The palms of my hands and the soles of my feet were sweating like crazy, but they would be freezing cold. I had no temperature stability. Like, I would be really hot and then really cold. And again, I'm in my mid 20s here, right? Thinking, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm too young for all this. I literally felt like I was in the middle of menopause based on the symptoms that were going on. And I kept going to my doctor, going to my doctor. With all of that, I also started developing really, really painful and horrific monthly cycles that I was avoiding like the plague. So I actually ended up with a diagnosis of endometriosis in my early 20s. And then all these other symptoms just got worse and worse and worse. So I was dealing with a lot of pain. I was dealing with a ton of inflammation. And what I know now, is that the majority of the stuff I was struggling with actually has the same underlying cause, which was actually all the inflammation. And so my experience with all of that was over the course of about 15 years, I continued to go to different doctors. And the solutions that I was offered were birth control, pain medications in the form of narcotics, and surgery. And so I had the same surgery 3 times in 6 years. I was constantly taking birth control and I was constantly taking pain meds. And I was just like, there's got to be a different way. Like, I'm never feeling better for longer than a couple of months at a time. So I would get these short windows of relief and then everything would just come back. And so it got really, really frustrating. And every time I went to the doctor, they would just tell me they didn't really know what was going on. And they would offer me either an increase in my medication or an additional medication, or I would end up being booked for surgery again. It just got really frustrating. And I honestly then started to notice after like 15 years of this going on with these nagging symptoms, always with normal labs, never getting an answer for why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I started to feel like I was crazy. I was like, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm like, maybe it is all in my head, I had a couple of doctors tell me, like, it's in your head, you should go and see a psychiatrist, that
Oh
kind
my
of thing.
Lord.
So, when you get told that over and over again, you start to believe it at some point. And so I started to believe that I was maybe crazy and maybe I wasn't as sick as I thought I was. And that just started this whole other trajectory where my mental health just completely fell off the wagon. So, enter COVID with nursing on top of that. And I just completely fell apart with my mental health. And I was actually really suicidal. I developed anxiety and major depressive disorder. And so I actually started medications for that as well, which made me feel so much worse. And that's actually when I decided to reach back out to a friend who had offered me MRA in the past. And I was like, no, I'm not interested because, like Dale had mentioned, in the healthcare industry, I sort of had this mindset that I was the expert and that I could heal myself and that I'm a nurse and I went to school for this and I should know how to do this. But I clearly didn't. So after almost 20 years of deciding, hey, you know what? This isn't working. The definition of insanity is literally doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I was like, I can't do this. It was affecting my career. It was affecting my relationships. I was holding up at home. I was sleeping 20 hours a day. I was calling out to work constantly. I was using drugs and alcohol every day just so I didn't have to deal with what was going on up here because it was horrifying.
Wow.
Horrifying.
Well, let's get to the good stuff. Let's go. Let's fast forward. Man, oh man, you've gone through a lot. Yikes. So where are you now? So you put your skepticism aside and you were like, what the heck? What
Yeah, so I was just like,
right?
again, I kind of just got to a point, and I do feel like people have to get to this point sometimes, unfortunately, before you're willing to make a change. But the same thing, I got tired of banging my head against that same wall over and over and over again. And so I reached back out to my friend that had offered me this solution before. And I said, you know what? I've got literally nothing to lose. I am totally desperate. I'm at a complete loss. And I'm seriously considering taking my own life. Like something has to change. And fortunately, I'm getting full body chills. Like suicide runs rampant in my family. I very unfortunately have lost both my father and my brother to suicide. So I knew when this started to come up for me, I needed to take it really, really seriously. So once I realized how much worse I felt when I started the medications for the anxiety and depression, I decided that that was not the path I wanted to take and I wanted to try a natural approach. And so enter Amare. I started the fundamentals pack, took that for 6 months straight. I didn't take any other products. I just stuck with that. I was consistent with it. And honestly, within 1 month, I felt different. I wouldn't say I felt better, but I felt different. And I started to notice that I had more energy when I woke up. And I started to notice that I didn't feel so awful all the time. Like I just had a little bit more hope and I started to feel a little bit different is really the only way I can describe it. And over the course of the next 6 months, I was able to come off of every single prescription medication that I've ever been on in my entire life. I no longer suffer from endometriosis symptoms or low thyroid symptoms. And like I said, I'm not on anything. I don't take birth control. I don't take pain meds. And if I didn't track my cycle, I wouldn't know when it's coming because I literally have zero symptoms. So it has honestly, like I said, completely changed my life. I don't even recognize who I was before and how I was functioning before. It seems like a completely different person and a completely different life. And this side of things has just been so fulfilling, so amazing. And like I said, it's even completely changed what I'm doing. I've left nursing, I've left the hospital system. I enrolled in and became a certified holistic health and nutrition coach. And now I help other women recover from a lot of the same symptoms that I was struggling with by addressing the root cause versus these prescription medications for a symptom.
Yeah, the Band-Aid approach, right? It doesn't get to the root. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's what's so amazing about these protocols because they get to the root and they allow your body to heal itself as it was intended to, as it was created to do, like to heal itself. But you got to give it the tools that it needs to be able to do that. And we know through science that the gut is like 80% of our immune cells, like all our neurotransmitters are produced there. Like it makes so much sense, but people don't realize. And that's why I'm so thankful for you to be sharing your story. And while I do this till the day I leave the planet, like just keep sharing these stories, because it gave my daughter her life back as well. Like it's unbelievable what these protocols can do. But you got to stick with it. Like you said, there's no such thing as a quick fix. None of that. You got to do the work. Did you change your diet at all during that?
You know what? I actually would love, I'm like tearful right now because what you just said, like just again, full body chills, and it's making me emotional because this system has given not only me and your daughter, but so many other people our lives back. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
And what I want to speak to is what you just said is when you're depressed, like I knew when I was depressed, especially being in healthcare, I knew that I needed to do different things to feel better. I knew I should eat differently. I knew
Mhm.
I should be exercising. I knew I should be socializing and doing things that were going to help my body
Mhm.
feel better. But when you're in that space, when you're anxious and you're depressed and you're looking at how you can take your life, I'm telling you, the last thing you're thinking about is doing anything that's good for you.
Yeah.
So,
I
what I
agree.
think that these products really helped me do is they gave me the mood support that I needed to be able to take the steps and the actions that I knew I needed to take to feel different. And so, it wasn't until I had the support of these products and my mood lifted enough that I was able to start to make changes that I knew were going to make me feel better, like eating differently,
Mhm.
like being more active, and
Right.
like introducing less toxic products into my lifestyle.
Yes, I love it. And that's what's so great because like you said, it's hard. Like someone's overwhelmed, like the last thing that you they want to do is like change their diet or
Yeah.
start going to the gym. It's like I can't even get through the day. Like you said in the very beginning, over the first month, like you just felt different. Kind of was like a little glimmer of hope in there. And that's what
Yeah.
people need. And then this is what we see like the first step, get the gut back in balance, start lifting the mood a little bit, and then you're more motivated to
Mhm.
take like I'm going to make a better choice today. You know what I
Right.
mean? And you have the mental clarity to say, yes, I know that if I go for a walk right now, it's going to lift my mood, so I'm going to get my butt up and do it. So like you now have the motivation. I love it. This is so good. It's
And
so
then the
good.
only other one thing I want to mention here that I think is so important too is like I mentioned, I was on all these different prescriptions and they come with a ton of side effects,
Mhm.
right? So the birth control has a lot of side effects, the narcotics, the anesthesia, the SSRIs. I mean, the combination of all of those things together too not only wreaks havoc, complete havoc on your gut, which I didn't know either
Mhm.
beforehand. But, we kind of joke about it. We've all seen the drug commercials where the side effects literally
Oh,
go on for days and days and days, right? Like
it's
it's kind of
insane.
comical. You have to laugh about
It
it,
is
right?
comical. It's like
And the thing that I've noticed with these products is there was a very small window of side effects. I'm not going to lie. Like there was a little bit of time where I felt a little bit worse before I felt better
mhm.
while my body was adjusting to the supplements and my gut was healing and the bad bacteria was dying off. But
Yeah.
it was no different from how I felt on the SSRI that I started, right? Like I
Yeah.
felt terrible. And they straight up told me it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks before I was at the right dose and before we were at the point where I felt the way I was supposed to feel. So I said, well, if a prescription takes that long to work and has all these side effects, then so do supplements. I need to give this a fair chance and I need to let them work in my body and build up over time because the phased benefits that I now understand are so important.
Yes. Yes.
But with that comes along the fact that I didn't have any significant issues or side effects from these supplements, and most people don't. But what I did experience was so many side benefits. So I
Mhm.
actually started these products because of my mental health and all of the inflammation going away, all of the issues that I have with my low thyroid symptoms and my endometriosis symptoms and my cycle problems literally just disappeared. Like that's not why I started this protocol though. I started because I was
Mhm.
suicidal and depressed. And what I got out of it was so incredible. And I had no idea that all of this was also going to come from just taking these supplements. Again, all my hormonal
Oh,
thyroid symptoms are all gone.
mind blowing.
I've lost 40 pounds of inflammation and bloat. So just
Well, you
don't see
look
that.
amazing. You're like radiantly healthy. You look incredible. It's amazing. And you can't deny the physical and the mental, they go hand in hand. You have
Mhm.
to treat them both. It's amazing. What an incredible story. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing it with me and all of our audience here. Reach out if you want to see more stories, hear more stories like this. We literally have thousands of them. So, yeah, definitely drop, stories if you want to see more. I will invite you into our community. I think there's what, 35,000 people in there now, something around there. It's
Crazy.
insane. Yeah, people are looking for natural solutions. There's no side effects, so and they work. The gut brain
Yeah.
connection is real. I
Yep.
say that 1,000 times a day. All right, Amber, you're amazing. I'm so happy for you and so many people that you're going to help over your lifetime now, which is what you got into nursing in the first place, was to help people, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you once again. I appreciate you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.